Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to begin this evening's board meeting. The school board meeting of August 25th, 2020 is now called to order. The time is 6:03 p.m. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential, and of the district's vision to be a world-class school system. We would like to remind the public that this facility requires the wearing of a mask. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, public comment, consent action items, which include 1 item under Executive Services, 12 items under Academic Services Resources, 1 of which is for good cause. Dr. Adkins, please provide an explanation for this 1 item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The item is approval of the school readiness provider agreements to provide funding for the 2020-2021 school year. We had a delay in getting these to the board, but which we have remedied that, but the contracts need to be approved by August 31st so that they can have continuity in funding.
Thank you, Dr. Atkins. As presiding officer, I find that there is good cause to add this 1 item to the agenda. Also on the agenda are 5 items under business services, 5 items under human resources, 16 items under operations, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved by Ms. Vaughn and seconded by Mrs. Jordan. Please record your vote. Ms. Thomas. Motion carries 7-0. For this evening, Mrs. Giovanelli has invited Pastor Kathy Smith of the Vineyard Christian Fellowship to deliver the invocation, after which Ms. Vaughn will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Giovanelli, please invite your guest to deliver the invocation at this time.
I would like to introduce Kathy Smith as co-pastor Vineyard of the Fort Myers Christian Fellowship, along with her husband Gary for 34 years. Gary is also a Fort Myers native and also a Fort Myers High School graduate with a long family history in the Lee County school system. Welcome, Kathy Smith.
Thank you. I'll pray. Our Father in heaven, may you be honored, exalted. May your kingdom come, and may your will be done in Lee as it is. God, as these board members, these decision makers for our school system gather this evening to address difficult decisions, many relating to COVID-19 and all of its varied complications, I pray that you will equip each one of them with wisdom, courage, foresight, compassion, integrity, and a servant heart, so that they can discern the best course for our children, the parents, our teachers, and staff for this school year. May they have the same sense of humility as leaders of Judah we read about in 2 Chronicles, when they called out to you for help in their desperate need for guidance for their community. Overwhelmed and fearful, they prayed, Lord, we do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you. I pray for the parents who also face difficult decisions. Give them your guidance. I pray for the students. Calm their fears and anxieties. I pray for the teachers and the support staff. Give them everything they need to face the unique challenges of this school year. And God, I pray that all of us would receive fresh hope and anticipation for better days ahead. God, may we hear, in response to our calling out to you for guidance, the same comforting words you spoke to the leaders of Judah when they called out to you. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for I will be with you. And God, I thank you for your great mercy and grace. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Smith.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
The next item on the agenda is public comment. Ms. Dupuy-Bruno, please address the item of public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or on any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a blue card, please put it in the basket provided at the back of the room. If you need a blue card, they are located in the hallway outside of the boardroom. The rules concerning public comment are posted at the back of the room. Public comment will be made from the central microphone in the back of the room. Please be advised that the board does not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. At the end of the public comment period, the board chair, Ms. Fisher, will address concerns or the assignment of any concerns or requests to the superintendent. We encourage each speaker to wear a mask during public comment. We would ask that you use the sanitization supplies which are provided near the microphone after you speak for the benefit of the next speaker. Speakers and those attending the meeting are expected to act in a respectful manner. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on school district issues. Personal attacks on individuals or abusive language are prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, and booing are prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 1.11. The time per speaker is 3 minutes. You will find a countdown on the big screens in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. Please state your name prior to making your comment. Please stay 6 feet apart while in the public comment queue. Madam Chair, there are 11 speakers that wish to address the board this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Dupuy-Bruno. Is there anyone on the right side of the auditorium who has not completed a card and wishes to speak? Anyone on the left side? Ms. Dupuy-Bruno, please
Thank
call
you.
the first speaker.
Thank you. Will the first speaker please approach the microphone? And please state your name.
This is regarding COVID precautions. So, I'm a physician here in Southwest Florida. My practice includes functional medicine, including pediatrics. For 34 years, I've taught patients how to build their immune systems. I've taught in many health and medical institutions. I've written several books on health. I have articles published in medical journals, peer review and otherwise. I've been a continuing education provider for healthcare providers in the state of Florida. As part of state licensing requirements, I participate in infectious disease control trainings every biennium. As a consumer of scientific data, it's clear to me and many, many others that the data surrounding COVID does not support or justify any kind of lifestyle change further than get out in the sunshine, get exercise, breathe fresh air, love each other, have fun, eat whole natural foods, get sleep. no more than would have been justified at any other time in history. Each one of you has tens of trillions of microbes in and on your bodies. Some are helpful, some are not. However, you choose to focus on one that turns out, despite extensive padding of the numbers, to be very difficult to contract and has a remarkably low mortality rate if you're not put on a ventilator for weeks. We don't blame you for believing, those of you that do, that the people on the television who support the agenda of the television station sponsors are actually telling you the truth. You become used to it. We don't blame you for believing that the experts around the world who disagree with the television station sponsors are charlatans. But where we do hold you accountable is if you think that you know better than the parents who have done a stellar job of raising their children and delivering them to you, to your doors, to be trained, treated well, protected, and taught to think critically and learn. Are you really considering teaching these children to be swept along with the fantasy of these useless measures, such as this offensive virtue signal? And that's all it is. Viruses are much smaller than the holes in this. And exhale volume does not decrease while wearing a mask. We're all breathing each other's air right now. And there's a big difference between feeling safe and being safe. We have no responsibility to help people feel safe. That's entirely subjective. If teachers feel that they're unsafe, there are other careers available. Is the Sheriff's Department hiring? Thank you for your service. And I want to thank teachers for their service. And those that honor science, we're very grateful. And remember, the parents are the ones in charge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Sir.
Will you please repeat your last name?
Murdoch is Murdoch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Will the next speaker please approach the microphone? Yes, thank you.
Chair Fisher, Dr. Atkins, Attorney Dupree Bruno, and board members. I'm Kevin Daly, and I'm the president of the Teachers Association of Lee County. Tonight, I'm going to speak about the reopening of schools and some new developments. Yesterday, the Florida Education Association was awarded an emergency injunction against the commissioner's executive order from July 6th. In his order, the judge stated that the executive order as issued by the commissioner was unconstitutional, quote, to the extent it arbitrarily disregarded safety, denies local school boards decision-making with respect to opening brick-and-mortar schools, and conditions funding on an approved reopening plan with a start date in August, end quote. This decision reaffirms that this locally elected school board should be making the decisions related to schools in Lee County without concern of possible negative repercussions from the state, including loss of funding. It is the stated goal of FE and TALC to reopen schools when it is safe and in the safest manner possible. We, as teachers, want to be vaccinated and want to engage in our vocation. We only ever ask that it be safe for everyone in the schools. As everyone knows, the board voted to move back the start date for students until August 31st. Many in the community asked what good a few weeks would do. As someone who looks at the data to make decisions, I have to say that the delay, coupled with the increased wearing of masks, has made a difference. We continue to see overall positivity rates decline over the past 10 days. That is good news, but the pediatric positivity rate continues to be over 18% in Lee County, well above the 5% threshold as recommended by the Florida chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. There are currently over 48,000 positive cases in Florida among those younger than 18. Instructional staff reported to schools a week ago, and in that time there have been several schools where employees have been exposed and have had to quarantine even before the students arrived. We've all worked very hard to work together to meet the needs of students and staff in a meaningful way in the face of this pandemic. But I feel we're going to experience some real challenges when students are added to the equation. This group needs to be ready to act in a swift manner to move to virtual education if necessary to keep students, staff, and the community safe. The injunction from the judge reaffirms your ability to do just that without interference or threat of consequence from the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Will the next speaker please approach? And please state your name.
Hi, I'm Crystal Vervate. I'm here to talk about the mask mandates. I'm having a hard time getting on board with that. I watched the video from yesterday, and one of the healthcare professionals on the video was talking about comparing the areas that had the mask mandate versus the areas that did not have the mask mandate. So I took it upon myself today to go to the Florida Department of Health and do the comparison of Collier County versus Lee County. Collier County implemented a mask mandate towards the back end of July, about a month or so ago. If you look at the data from the last 15 days or so, about 10 days, the number of positivity rates of COVID cases has been a lot higher than those in Lee County, where there is no mask mandate. Also, the World Health Organization states in one of their documents dated on August 21st, so pretty recently, quote, evidence on the benefits and harms of children wearing masks to mitigate transmission of COVID-19 and other coronaviruses is limited. So I'm just curious, where is this data coming from? When I watch your guys' meetings, I've watched the live feeds, I've been on the COVID-19 task force. You guys aren't citing the sources. You say CDC. A lot of their research is not peer-reviewed. It just sounds like sound bites coming from CNN or Fox News or whatever broad news channel you're looking at. I want to see sources. I'm also a little bit frustrated that there's a review panel to review medical exemptions for the doctors that are writing, notes saying that I don't think it's right that certain children don't wear masks. I'm just kind of curious, how is that going to work? So a parent comes in and says, my child has XYZ issues. I have a medical exemption from a doctor, and then you guys have a review board that's going to review that and say yes or no, it's legit or not, without having any medical history of the child. I'm not seeing the dots connected here. It just seems like a lot of these decisions are based on being politically correct versus data and science. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Will the next speaker please approach?
Hi, my name is Brenda Clark. I just wanted to know when the school district got involved in my child's health care. The school district has now suggested that I keep my children with allergies medicated. Otherwise, they'll be sent home if they have a runny nose. So I'm guessing that the school district is aware of the long-term effects of steroids on children. The school district also the school district's approved medical professionals have stated that there's no harm in children wearing masks for up to 10 hours on a school day with extended care after school. And lastly, the school district, not my family's medical doctor, can determine if my child has, in fact, a valid medical condition, exempting them from wearing a mask. A medical professional who has cared for my child from birth doesn't know what's best for them. The school district will decide who doesn't know the first thing about my child. So seeing these are all requirements made by the school district, I'm guessing that you'll be liable for damages. When I approached my child's school about obtaining a medical exemption, I was told how hard it would be to get one, as these kids were allowed, if these kids were allowed not to wear masks, some teachers wouldn't return to school. So now we get down to the real reasons. What other profession is allowed to return to work, or is allowed not to return to work if they're afraid? Publix, Walmart, police officers, janitors, all would be told to find a different place to work if they didn't want to return to work. So why does the teachers union have more power than any profession in the United States? Many of these professions see thousands of people a day and make pennies in comparison. Daycares and summer camps have been in full swing all summer, yet the district will not look at the statistics there. So I'm wondering why.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Brian Garner. I'm representing myself as a parent of a football player over here in Cape Coral. My concern is not allowing parents to actually show up and attend games for these players. I've coached football for 15 years here locally, from youth football from anywhere between 5-year-olds up through high school level. I also understand that when a child gets injured on that field, that it's the parent's responsibility to be there to be able to take care of it, because the school has no authority to give medical advice or medical authorization for these kids to get injured. Now, if we're telling us that we cannot be there, What happens to our children if we're out there and they get injured? Not only that, you're talking about, I can understand not allowing mass amounts of students to be there at a function like that, but you're talking about an outside event. This is not something that takes place inside. This is not taking place indoors. This is outside where Corona has already proven to be destroyed by the sun. So if we're out there and we're keeping distance, we can wear masks, we can sanitize, we can take temperature checks just like the students that have been out there practicing for the last 2 months in those conditions. Now I know my player, my son, he goes out there, he gets his temperature checked, he's asked if he's been exposed to Corona, he's asked every question in the world before he can even take place out there with this team. All I'm saying as a parent, why not use the same restrictions on us? But do not keep us from being there for our kids during these games. It also affects on the way that these players are, and a lot of these kids are trying to get into college. Now, if you're taking that away from them, they're also taking away their chance at a scholarship. Because football, I can tell you right now, does not go out there and videotape everything that that player needs in order for these colleges to be able to see these kids play. So now you're hurting them not only academically, but you're hurting them in their future, and you're also hurting the future of sports. Because this to have a trickle-down effect, if you cut that out, you're not bringing those funds into that school. The schools aren't supplying enough to keep sports programs going. We, the parents, are. So that's what I'm asking, is to allow us to be there for our kids in case something does happen, and to be there in support for our kids and for our schools. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Will the next speaker please approach the microphone?
Hi, good evening. My name is Robert Simmons. I live here in Cape Coral. I'm a retired sheriff corporal out of California, and I'm also currently lieutenant colonel and a squadron commander of a medical squadron up at MacDill. I have 160 medical personnel, doctors, nurses, med techs that all work for me. That basically their issue is that ever since masks were mandated, they've realized that there's more people that come in with COVID symptoms or test positive with COVID symptoms, basically, is what's happening with it, that are wearing masks than without wearing masks. And the reason is if you look at some of the masks, I mean, and you may or may not be one of those people, but if you're wearing that mask more than a couple hours, that mask is no good anymore. Okay, and when if you go to Walmart or something like that and you see somebody come out taking a mask off, look at the inside of that mask if you get a chance. They're brown, they're yellow, they're funky, okay? And these people are breathing these things in and out. You watch somebody and they put it up on their mirror of their car thinking that's gonna disinfect it, okay? That's nasty, all right? And that's more than anything what's causing a lot of this. Now, you get little kids that are wearing these masks, and what are they doing with them? Okay, yeah, they're wearing their mask, they're doing this with it. They're putting it on, they're going all over the place with this, all right? What you're doing is you're actually gonna create more of a situation where they're more likely to catch COVID than anything. Now here's the fun part about all of this. If you've been watching what's been happening since April, or whatever, early on March or April, go out to any neighborhood in the Cape. I live in Cape Coral. In my neighborhood, there's probably maybe 30 portable basketball areas there, okay, that kids are playing with them. At any given time, there's 5, 10, 15 sweaty kids out there playing basketball, one basketball, 10, 15 kids, all bouncing around, playing this, and none of them are getting sick, okay? So the thing that they're looking forward to is the fact that, one, they don't have to go to school because they can stay at home, they can play their video games or whatever they want to do, or go outside and play basketball because you're telling them that they don't have to go to school. So there's two issues here. The mask, make it optional, okay? Like they were saying with the teachers and things like this, if they don't want to come to school, fire them, okay? You've got hundreds, thousands of substitute teachers that are willing to come in and be teachers that are out of work right now. You got new teachers that have just graduated. Let them come in and do it. If they're too scared to do the job, get rid of them. But for your kids' safety, don't make them wear the mask. They're nasty. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name's Jacob Pruitt. I'm actually a graduate of the Lee County School District. More importantly, I'm a father of 4 children who attend Lee County schools. I'm here today. Thankfully, you guys have opened the doors and allowed the parents to come and kind of speak their piece. We've submitted a lot of questions online. None of them have been answered. I doubt they've even been read, to be quite honest with you. The Lee County School District is charged with educating the children, the students in Lee County. They're not charged with keeping them safe. And the Lee County School District cannot guarantee the safety of any of their students. They simply can't. They ride school buses every day. We don't enforce them to wear the seatbelts on the school buses. Why not? They're more likely to die in a car accident than they are from COVID. They're more likely to get hurt in a car accident than they are to even catch COVID or to test positive for COVID. The district keeps touting this virtual learning as equitable and equal to in-person, face-to-face instruction with the teacher, and that is just false. It's not true. You guys are spending millions and millions and millions of our money on new schools. If virtual learning is equal, why are we spending all that money? The unions have been able to come and speak their piece. I know that a lot of the unions donate to your campaigns. I wonder if that's why. For every piece of evidence that you guys point to or that anybody points to, scientific evidence that states that masks work, there's just as many pieces of evidence or scientific studies that show that they don't. I personally am not anti-mask. I'm pro-freedom. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If I don't want to wear one, I shouldn't be forced to wear one. And I respect everybody's decision. I don't respect being told what to do, and I certainly don't respect my children being used as pawns to push an agenda, which is exactly what is happening. You all know, you're professionals, you know that virtual learning is not the same as in-person instruction, and you're denying students the right to the education that they deserve. You should all be ashamed of that. And I know that some of you are, and I appreciate that. I wish that you could speak and feel confident that you'd have some support. You'll certainly have the support of many parents and many teachers who are being silenced by the unions that you're negotiating with.
Please no clapping.
The last thing I'll say real quick, I see gaps on everybody's masks. Your last instruction said there could not be gaps. Show me a mask without a gap. And then tell me how, I see your gap. And then show me how, the stockpile of masks that we have to hand out to kids that can't afford them. Do you even know how many that is? You'll need over 3.5 million masks. You don't have them.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
My name is Ashley Pruitt. I'm a parent for children in Lee County, and I'm just confused as to when the school district decided that our opinions no longer mattered. Why haven't you included us in the reopening plans that have dramatically impacted our children's lives? Why are you only taking the opinions of a select few to determine the educational paths of just under 100,000 students? The biggest issue is that this is not within your authority to require a medical device of a child. You are not medical professionals, and you do not have the authority to override a parent's medical, religious, or personal decision that concerns their child. You also do not have the right to remove parents from the conversation. This issue is not your recommending masks to those who may be ill or have a compromised immune system. It is that you have removed our right to choose. We have the right to make the decision for our children, and you do not have the authority to penalize their education if they fail to comply. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Daniela Dye. I've communicated with some of you individually, but I've sent emails to absolutely every single one of you multiple times. I'd like to thank Ms. Giovanelli and Ms. Gibbons for reaching out to us individually, for those who have reached out with concerns, documents, articles, and for taking the time to do that and to continue to push the fact that public input is extremely important. A lot of people have brought up the fact that masks have varying degrees of success based on which studies or sources you look at. When we watched the panel yesterday, we seen that the only people that were on the panel agreed with the perspective that was being pushed by the school district. I did a little bit of research because I kind of was feeling like my job as a parent was being overstepped. Florida State Statute 1000.03 states Florida K through 20 education system shall be a decentralized system without excess layers of bureaucracy. Florida's K through 20 education system shall maintain a statewide technology plan based on a common set of data definitions. It does not go into any detail about what it can say for my child's medical care. I went into another document, sorry. And it says Florida State Statute 187.201 is a state comprehensive plan for health care. It says treatment of illness is a partnership between healthcare providers and patients in which individual patients participate in decisions related to their health care. In this process, patients and healthcare providers have mutual rights and responsibilities. That is not the responsibility of the school district, it is on healthcare providers. We've seen over the last few months, there's been several meetings. They've all been virtual, and I'm glad to be back in the building. We've attended several of them, spoke at only a few, and been able to really dig into some of these details. Over the last few months, we've seen the school district mention many things about the care and safety of our children, where they've taken on a care of role taker rather than an education system. I think it's great that you guys provide a food system for the kids that need it. I think it's great that we all qualify for it. I think it's wonderful that people that needed it during an epidemic or during a time when we were limited in our resources, people were losing jobs, you provided it to them, and at different avenues. I don't think it's okay for you to worry about the well-being in the people's homes and take over the responsibility as a daycare center, which is what's been provided for the schools. You guys are an education system and should focus on the education of the children. So again, I want to thank the people that have reached out individually, taken the time to read the documents and do the research, and to continue to stand for our rights as parents and citizens.
Thank you, ma'am. Please no clapping. If we have any further clapping, we will be removing individuals. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Courtney Asher. I have a son in high school who is in sports, and I'd like to request that you do not restrict spectators at sporting events. He happens to be in a spring sport, so really hoping at this point that we're not affected since their last season was highly affected. But I am standing up for the other parents here that have kids in sports that would like to see their kids play. I think it's important that parents are there, for one, because of injuries. A lot of injuries do happen in football. I myself had a daughter that was injured on the field playing soccer, and I don't know what I would have done if I wasn't there for her when she tore her ACL. I don't know if I could face you people for not allowing me to be there if I couldn't be there at that time. I also think it's important for the kids to be able to attend football games. I think it's part of their social upbringing. You know, it's very important that they have these outlets for social interaction, and sitting behind a mask in school where you're 6 feet apart and you can't touch people and your one-way hallways, and they're not getting that. You know, the reason why our governor told us that kids needed to go back to school is for that social interaction. They're not getting that the way you set it up. If you're going to restrict them from having homecoming, from having pep rallies, from going to football games, they're not getting it. And it's very important that they do have that experience. It's part of living. It's the education of life. So I'd like to request that you do not restrict spectators. I'm sure that there's some way that maybe you can minimize the number of people that are attending, or you know, have people signing up if they want to go, so you know how many people are going. If it's a legal aspect, you're afraid you're going to get sued. I'm sure that there's an attorney out there that can come up with some kind of a waiver for everybody to sign if they need to attend. I'm sure that there's somehow that we can figure out a way to do that, rather than just restricting all spectators like Naples did. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there another speaker?
Hello, my name is Lisa Fritz, and I too have students in high school throughout the county. I am requesting also that you do not deny spectators from going to sporting events. This is America. We have the right to and the freedom to assemble. New cases have decreased across Florida since July 12th. Restaurants remain open. Protestings are allowed in our streets. What makes going to support local kids who have worked so hard at the respective sport for so long different than gathering for protests? Why are parents who are disciplined enough to take their kids to practice for multiple years, multiple months, not being trusted to social distance at their sporting events that they have worked so hard for? Major theme parks are open. Thousands upon thousands are gathering. Haven't we taken enough from our kids already? I mean, my daughter was a senior last year. Her whole track season was ruined, even though she had a record. It's horrible what these kids are going through. I think that parents should have the right to decide whether or not they should be able to attend. If you are compromised, you know, maybe you shouldn't go to the games, but it should be an individual's right to go to their kid's sporting event. I know others have brought up about being injured on the field. That is a very real scenario, as my kids have had collarbone injuries and injuries where they had to be transported via an ambulance. So I think that that's really important that the parents, I think there's many ways that this can be accomplished. There could be waivers signed, there could be masks worn, there could be social distancing enforced, there could be limited tickets per players. But I believe that sports promote family unity. I believe it promotes teamwork and community involvement. America's sports are a pastime, and it's wrong to deny the parents of athletes to attend their games. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other speakers?
Hi, my name is Winnie Harrison, and I'm here to speak in favor of fully opening up the schools with no restrictions. Parents or teachers who do not want to be a part of this have the right to stay home. I do not favor online learning, even in part. It does not work for many children. It shouldn't even be a consideration for younger children. As parents, we try to limit screen time as it is. It's not healthy for their eyesight or brain development to be staring at a screen excessively. And let's not ignore the risks of online predators that parents need to be vigilant about protecting their children from, which is difficult when they're at work. Regarding masks, I'd like to read something short from the CDC from July 31st. While research indicates masks may help those who are infected from spreading the infection, there is less information regarding whether masks offer any protection for a contact exposed to a symptomatic or asymptomatic patient. Students are not even patients, and they should not be treated as such. And they're not lab rats to be experimented on over something even the CDC seems unsure of. I mostly fear the psychological damage to children, not being able to see their friends' faces, their teachers' faces, and vice versa, living in fear of germs and coming into normal physical contact, thinking it's normal to see people with masks on. It's not. Masks don't work, they're not healthy, and children shouldn't be taught that they're normal. And children who would be exempted from wearing masks will no doubt be bullied and singled out for being different. What child can learn well or should be asked to learn under those conditions? And how will the teachers even make all the children comply? Will they all be sent to detention every day like I know one of my sons would? Every day? I ask that schools open fully without restrictions so children get the proper social, educational, and as the parent of an athlete, an athletic experience that they deserve and that our taxes are meant to provide. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other speakers?
There's also speakers outside that were denied entry because they wouldn't wear a mask, so there's no public accommodation for those speakers, just so you know. Public hearings at City Hall have outside screens as well as microphones.
Corey Dye, Cape Coral, U.S. Army veteran. Thank you for finally having an open parent forum. Finally. Let's start with just today. Today, you have made a requirement on a public hearing without making accommodations for those that can't meet that requirement. A simple microphone and TV would have solved those issues. You literally are illegally locking people out of a public hearing. My major problem with all of this is, first, I voted for a representative, and through most of this, most of you all don't answer emails, nor have reached out to hear what we want. Dr. Atkins isn't my direct rep, and you all should be ashamed at how you have laid down and let him become a dictator. It is safe for kids to wear masks all day. Well, if it's safe, why are teachers and parents required to sign waivers? As if you have made it hard enough on students, now you're removing parents from being a part of their activities. Which brings me to my real problem. Your idea that you and me are somehow the same. I am a father. They are my sons. They are only your students. I have never asked you to parent my children, nor will I relinquish my authority for you to govern my children. Last, the disservice at-home learning is doing to these young children will set some back for years. I am sure you all clearly know Wade v. Brown, so I won't cover that. I will just say, if at-home learning is equal to teacher instruction, why do they require a certification and I don't? Thank you, and I largely disagree in you never offering a mask-free learning environment. I vote for a mandate-free leave.
Thank you, sir. Any other speakers? Madam Chair, at this time, we're inviting the 4 speakers that are outside to come and speak. So Ms. Schaefer has gone to get them.
Thank you. She said Jen went to get them.
Okay, Madam Chair, there are no other speakers at this time.
Are they?
Shut it down.
Are there any speakers who have not spoken? Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, there are no other speakers at this
Okay,
time.
thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to thank the parents who came tonight to share their opinions and let us know how they feel. We do, of course, offer choices other than our virtual learning opportunities to try to meet everyone's needs. Dr. Atkins, do you have any other comment to add to that?
Well, just one of the things that was brought up this evening has to do with athletics and having fans in the stands, and that is something that we're certainly continue to look at. We do hope that we're able to offer some flexibility, so please just stay tuned because information will come out to you in the near future. But I just want to give you an update there.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for taking the time to come and speak to us. The next item on the agenda is the approval of action items in the agenda under consent. The documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to board members 7 days prior to the board meeting. We are expected to review all the material and have an opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we may have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business tabled items portion of the agenda? Mrs. Giovanelli.
I have none.
Ms. Patrica.
No, thank you.
Ms. Jordan.
I have none.
Ms. Gittens.
I have none.
Ms. Vaughn.
I have none.
Ms. Morgan.
None.
And I have none. Okay. Board members, I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda's consent action items.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Morgan.
Oh, I'm sorry, we can't say so moved. Okay. I was just looking at her over the mask. So I move that we adopt the agenda items as presented.
Moved by Mrs. Gittens and seconded by Ms. Morgan. Please record your vote. Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is attorney's recommendations, of which there are none, and public hearings, which there are none either. Next on the agenda is board members' comments. Mrs. Giovanelli.
I have a couple questions. Dr. Atkins answered the spectator question, so thank you for
Ms.
that.
Giovanelli, can you get closer to the mic? I can't hear you.
I'm trying. Regarding the masks, I hear what everyone's saying, and I appreciate it and everything. And it's important that we do recognize that you have that right regarding masks. But we have to look at 92,000 students as well. I mean, and so it's very difficult to make everybody happy. And we understand that. So I just want to know, I really appreciate everyone coming here. It'll be up the superintendent's decision regarding the mandated mask, and if the board wants to support that, that's what the board will make that decision. So I just want to, kind of acknowledge that. I know you all came out here tonight, and I really, really appreciate that. It's important to know that we are hearing your voice. So I appreciate that. Thank you. I do have a question for Dr. Atkins on a couple calls that I got on our break. Apparently, there's like 80 teachers being housed here at the district that are in one area, and I'm just concerned where that area is, and are they social distancing? I don't, so I'm concerned over that because 80 teachers in one room is a little scary for me because I want to make sure that we are following CDC guidelines. And the second thing is I also got a call today from a teacher that was a new teacher that was a kindergarten teacher. For 2 weeks she worked, and then today, or either today or yesterday, she was told that she didn't have enough students and now she no longer has a job. She's surplus. So those are a couple things that, I mean, I just want to make sure that we're ready on the 31st. That's really important for me, because if we're not ready, you know, we're putting everyone at risk at that point if we're not 100% ready. So that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, just to respond to your questions, one of the areas that I would say where you have a lot of concentration of people in one spot would be student services, or ESE, you know, in Jessica Duncan's area. So or Teresa Bowen, I should say now. But one of the things that we have asked the chiefs to do is to make sure that when you're doing the scheduling of the staff, that you are scheduling in such a way in terms of work hours and schedules would allow for not that whole contingent of people, not all 80 people are going to be in that particular room at one time. And a lot of those folks, remember, are actually deployed out at schools. So you might have a cubicle in the district office, but they have been assigned out to a school where they can stay socially distanced, so you're not going to have all 80 people in a large cubicle area at one time. So that's what we've done here. Every one of our chiefs has worked to make sure that they're able to, anytime you have a space where you might not have the ability to socially distance, that you can use flexible scheduling and reassignment to another area so that you can do that socially distancing as you need to. Regarding the situation relative to the kindergarten teacher, we are going to be ready, but it is, as you know, I just had a conversation with Dr. Pruitt literally right before this board meeting, and she's, you know, it's all hands on deck. That's what they did all day today, and they will get there. I mean, that was the conclusion. It just takes a lot of work, but we will make sure that those people, like that kindergarten teacher, no reason why that person wouldn't have a job, because we need these people right now. And so it's just, where is that job going to be? So they're working fast and furious to make sure they're in place. Those assignments, this should be done this week. We're at Tuesday, so I still have a great deal of confidence that we're going to be in a good place on Monday. Now, having said that, I think we all should be ready for, you know, not absolutely a smooth opening. I do not expect a smooth opening. But I also do expect us to be able to react quickly and be able to make adjustments as needed. So we will keep you posted. I certainly understand those concerns, but just understand we're working feverishly to make sure that we're balanced.
I know, and I really appreciate everything the staff's doing. I know it's a lot, but you know, we're all being held accountable, and we have to do it the same here. You know, it works both ways. So I just want to make sure that we are just transparent as possible, and know that it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride. So I'm here with you. So,
absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Giovanelli. Mrs. Patrica.
I've already given my report, and I typically don't respond to public comment because I feel like that's the chair's job, but I want you guys to know that I appreciate you coming out. I have 4 children who will be going back to school on Monday, 2 of whom are football players, one of whom is entering her junior year as a relatively high-level athlete, so I get the whole wanting to be there to watch the sports thing. I will tell you that my kids are wearing masks at home when they have electronics in front of them to get them ready for school, and there has been 0 impact on their ability to interact with their friends. My house in my neighborhood is the house where all the kids come. They're in and out all day, every day. When their friends come in, they wear masks if they're in front of electronics. And they have been knuckleheads with each other, regardless of whether they have a mask on their face or not. They're wearing them for 8 hours a day. And there are 0 issues. I understand that your children might have conditions or circumstances that are different from mine, so I'm not projecting my experience onto you, but you raised a couple issues with regard to socialization, and I just think that in the beginning, this is going to be hard for everybody. It's going to be hard for parents, it's going to be hard for kids, it's going to be hard for teachers. It's going to be hard, it's going to be a lot easier on the second day than it was on the first day, and it's going to be a lot easier week 2 than it is week 1, because we will get used to this. We will absolutely get used to this. I'm sorry, we can't have a conversation during the board meeting. But I did want to respond to your concerns and your comments, and
This is the superintendent's decision, and it is a decision that I fully support based on the medical evidence and all of the safety measures that have been put in place that have been approved by doctors and by the Department of Health and all of that. So I don't want you to feel like you're sitting out there, hanging out there by yourself. I fully support this decision with 4 kids of my own who are going back to school masked all day. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Patrica. Ms. Jordan.
I just want to say to the parents out there, thank you very much for being here and sharing your concerns with us. I, as well, have many grandchildren that will be re-entering schools in multiple fashions. Some will be virtual, some will be home connect, and some will be going to brick and mortar. That was the decisions of each and every one of their parents to do so. And a lot of conversations on that and a lot of great concern. But they came to the realization of what they wanted for their families, and that were the choices that they made. As far as emails, we are inundated with emails constantly. We do, I can say for myself, I try to respond to as many as I possibly can. It's not that we're ignoring you. We want to communicate with the community and the families. And as far as sports, I get it. My grandson played football constantly, and if we were not out there, it was a great deal for the family. So they expect us to be there. So thank you very much for bringing that up. But we are all trying to do our very, very best for each and every one of the kids. You know, our kids, your kids, everyone's. And on that, earlier today we had a briefing with the regarding the FSBA legislative platform, and I have the dates for that. Actually, they have just begun to accept proposals for the platforms. So that just actually started on the 20th. And we need to have everything turned in by the October the 15th. So all submissions, the proposals for the legislative and federal platforms must be in by then. So that's something that we definitely need to start working on. And then I have other dates, and I'll forward that to everybody, the other dates that go along with that. And I want to make sure that I also say, I do appreciate the teachers. I heard people saying let the teachers leave or whatever. I appreciate each and every one of them who are out there educating our children, and I want to make sure that they do know that I am there to support them as well. And that ends my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Gittens.
Okay, good evening, everyone. When I was teaching in Lee County School District, one of the things when I taught students about communication and about how to communicate with each other and to listen to each other, and one of the exercises that I would do is taking a Venn diagram where you have the 2 circles that intersect. And on one side of it is the way you see it, the other side is the way I see it, or the other person. In the middle is where lies not necessarily the truth, but the action. And it takes you listening, them listening, and together coming up with a solution. There are so many parents that we could probably fill the other side of the room with people that are on the other side of that Venn diagram. For whatever reason, no, they're not here. I understand that, for whatever reason. But they do exist, and they are out there. And for the same strong reasons that you have for what you are asking, they have strong reasons for the other side. That leaves the district, the superintendent, with these decisions that have to be communicated properly, simplistic and timely, so that everyone understands what that middle is. We still cannot make everyone on both sides happy, and I'm sure that we won't. You will win some things, and the other side will win some as well. But as Ms. Giovanelli said, we have 95,000 students and their families that have to fit somewhere in both of these circles. And that is what the superintendent and the staff are doing is to try to fit as much as what you want and they want and what's best for children. I have heard and have seen written and disagree with you on one thing, that safety is not a part of what we do. A big part of what we do is to make sure that kids are safe and secure and educated. And I think you would agree with me that if you drop your child off in the morning for school, you expect us to keep them safe. Okay, and we can't take comments from the audience, so well, I really want you to be able to stay in the room. So the bottom line is, there's two sides to every story. There's a lot of data, a lot of things. Someone told me that working on the school board and trying to get something changed is like moving a battleship, and it's an inch at a time. And sometimes it doesn't go the direction or as fast as you may want it to go. But I can tell you by the end of next year, at the end of the school year, all of your children will be educated. They will have their education because there will be ways to make sure that that's done. One of the things I've gotten a lot of calls and concerns from parents and teachers as well, especially from teachers, about there are teachers that are afraid. And it's a personal thing about fear. You can't tell me, or I can't tell you, don't be afraid. It's a personal thing. And there are teachers that are afraid of the situation that they're in, but they want to educate your children. And that's why they're where they're at and doing what they're doing. So keep in mind, there's teachers that don't necessarily want to be in this situation either, and it's their job and they are there. And a teacher said to me the other day that it is very offensive that they try to do their best to educate children, and people say, if you don't want to do it, just quit. It is. The teacher was talking to me the other day, has been teaching for 35 years, and just, it's not an option for her to just walk away from what she has done and loves to do. So I say that to you all. I also say to our teachers out there to hang in there. You are part of a Venn diagram as well. You have to make decisions for yourself because we're all adults and we all make our own decisions. Everyone has the opportunity to voice their opinions, and we only ask that after you voiced your opinions that you be patient with the process and follow along with us. One thing I want to admit, two things. The census is still going on. I always talk about it. We only have until the end of September. In some areas, we're doing very well and increasing the number of people that are participating in the census since the 2010 census, and that is good, but there is still time. And it is supremely important for things that we need in our schools, in our community, for our children, for infrastructure, all types of things. And it is funding and support that we deserve in our community that we won't get if everyone does not take the opportunity to participate and say, we're here, everyone counts. I think that's it. I had some other things, but I'll tell you all later. Thank you all for coming, and thank you everyone for listening to me.
Thank you, Mrs. Gittens. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, I'm really glad that a couple of my colleagues tonight have brought up teachers, because we have, and very rightly so, expressed our gratitude for all the overtime hours that, well, it's not really overtime, all the hours, the extra hours that our staff has put in, working hard to get everything right for the opening of school. And of course, as somebody mentioned, there will be tweaks on opening day and opening week as we make sure that all the parents have gotten their children in the place that they want them to be, and that the teachers are settled into schedules. So I wanted to extend at this time a thank you to all the teachers for their flexibility and their willingness to, after many, many years of teaching, switch gears completely in many cases. The second thing I wanted to say is, God bless America, where we have the freedom of speech. We do have freedom of speech. I am pro-freedom. However, we do not have the freedom to harm other people. In the United States, we have speed laws on our highways. We have government regulations to protect the environment, to try to combat global warming and climate change. We have all kinds of things that we enact to protect others. And yes, people have freedom to speed, but in many cases, unfortunately, they endanger others. It may not be the perfect analogy, but why do we wear masks? We really don't wear masks. Somebody pointed out that the mask doesn't really protect the individual completely from getting the virus or the flu or any other disease. Why do we wear masks? Out of respect for others, out of compassion. Excuse me.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
I think we should clear the room.
This
I would
is
like
not
to,
a debate. This is
Madam
my
Chair.
turn to talk.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I should have called you Miss Fisher, but she was trying to get your attention.
I'm giving you my point of view. My name's right out in front. If you want to do what you will, send me 1,000 emails, but I'm telling you how I feel as a board member, that, and as just an American citizen who cares about my fellow citizens. We wear the masks out of respect. We wear the masks because in case we are even symptom-free, if we have COVID, I certainly don't want to infect anybody else. I absolutely stand with this administration in saying we must have mandatory mask wearing for those people who disagree. As somebody already said, we do have choices in the school district, lots of choices. But I really strongly feel that we have made the very best decision possible based on all of the scientific data. And yes, we are charged with protecting our students. I don't know if any of you have ever been teachers, but I was a teacher for 38 years. And even though I taught the big kids, high school juniors and seniors, I felt like when they were in my room, they were under my protection. I want to remind everybody of the teachers who, during school shootings, stand in front at risk of their own lives, the students in their room. So anybody who thinks that teachers don't care, and if they don't want to come back, just fire them. No, you're not respecting the profession. So this is a topic that really hits close to home for me. And so this is why I'm speaking passionately and with much conviction on this. And finally, I want to remind everybody that we're in the middle of a School Heroes Wear Masks drive. We've had lots of donations. Yes, it was.
I know it's your chance, Ms. Vaughn, but I'm really appreciative of your mass drive.
Thank you.
I really am, and I know that's what you're about to
You know
talk
what?
about, so thank you.
I honestly, this is the Jersey girl coming out. Sorry, everybody. But this is a time I wish that my car was parked out the front door. I'm serious, but never mind. Excuse. All right, back to the mass drive. We're good. It is very important, and I appreciate those of you. We all appreciate those of you who are supportive of the mass drive. We've had a lot of corporate donors already. When we first talked about this, my daughter told me, she's in sales. I've never been in sales. Mom, you have to set a goal, and I very nervously said, 50,000. And I thought, oh gosh, what have I done? But I'm very hopeful that we will push very close to that goal. And that way we can have every single student who comes to the face-to-face learning have a cloth mask of his or her very own. And the security guards out there watching the box, because I moved our donation box out on the front table. But I told them out there to make sure that box doesn't go anywhere.
Dr. Savage is
we got to lighten up just a little bit on it. But I probably should stop talking now, so I'm done. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Mrs. Morgan.
Yeah, super. So it's tough when you're sort of the last one in line. I don't think I could speak with any more clarity than Ms. Gittens has about sort of the situation that we are in. Thank you. I thought you spoke beautifully, and I want to thank Ms. Vaughn for her passion, because I share that as well. And I'm not going to repeat what they had to say. What I'm going to say is that we start school in a week. There are people in this district who have been working since the 15th of March to get to next Monday. Between the fourth quarter, when we had to turn on a dime and figure out how to engage kids and support staff, to going through the whole summer and planning despite switches, changes in our direction from others, have managed to pull off what I think is an extraordinary plan to not only get kids back in school, either online or in the classroom, but also to provide a lot of information about the health and safety precautions that will be in place for students and staff. And so I would like to if anybody in the listening audience is interested, we had a really good briefing this afternoon on the notification and communications plan that has been put together by the district when there are suspected cases of COVID among children or staff. And if anyone is concerned about how we will proceed, I encourage you to listen to that presentation. I don't know, is Ms. Stillwell here? Is it online? Okay, great, even better, it's online. So, and just sort of wrap up, I will reiterate what other people have said. There will be glitches. But this is also a very fluid situation. And, if every day, the district staff is looking at the conditions outside, and they are getting advice about what is the optimal safety, health and safety condition for children and staff to teach and learn in. If we can loosen things up, I can guarantee you this man will be the first person to open that door. But I just want to reiterate what everyone else has said. I have enormous confidence in our plan. I am just so proud to be part of this district and to work with the people that we are working with in this district. I have said before, we've known all along we have a really high quality leadership team, both in the district and in the schools, but it's not until you encounter a situation like this when you see what people are capable of doing and what they can achieve. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll be brief because I don't want to reiterate what's been said, but in this imperfect storm, we're all looking for a ray of light. And I empathize with those parents, and I'm sorry that they left the room, because as a parent of 4, a grandmother of 8, and a great-grandmother of 7, many of whom are athletes, I feel their pain on a personal note. And we want kids to come back to school. Some kids have to come back to school because it's where they're safe and it's where they get their needs met. And that is why our staff has worked tremendously hard to create a plan that gives people choices and options. I'm extremely proud of the plan also, because for those people who want to come brick and mortar, face to face, we're going to be ready for them. For those who have extenuating circumstances or are just a little bit reluctant yet to move out, then we have other options. Maybe not the perfect options, but good options, good, strong options. And I just wanted to take a few minutes to say to Dr. Pruitt and her staff for the mammoth efforts to get all teachers and staff placed safely to meet the needs of all of our kids, to Dr. Spiro and his team for the incredible work in creating plans and communicating to schools and families, for Ken Savage and his team for getting our buildings ready and making a lot of adjustments and accommodations and sanitizing everything so that we can be safe. Yes, we're educators. We're not healthcare providers, but we are responsible for the safety and security of all of the people, our students and staff alike. To Beth Whip for the amazing professional job in coordinating for the health of our students and staff while working amazingly, and I've heard so many comments to the affirmative, with our community health partners who are helping us make our decisions. To Lori Brooks, Leisha Roy, and Sherry Wenzel for working with Children's Minds Matter and other Lee Health organizations to advocate for the mental health of our kids and our staff. To Jarrett Eady, Crystal Torres Nunez, Chuck Bradley, and Brian Williams for their work with Equality Florida in these difficult times, and for their leadership in equity and diversity statewide on behalf of this district. They're really showing up amazingly well. Crystal has been selected for the steering committee for the All Together Now conference, and in this time when we're having demonstrations and difficulty with groups coming together, these people are working very hard and really shining a light across the state. To Talc and Spout for advocating and listening to the teachers and other staff who are so important in getting our kids to school and feeding our kids and then giving them that education that they so desperately need. Tonight I would have been at my Drug Free Coalition annual board meeting where Sheriff Marcino is going to be getting an award as a leader in prevention. We have another issue in our community, and that is that there's an epidemic of drug abuse and drug overdoses. So we have a lot of issues that we somehow are part and parcel of because we are kind of like the center of the community. And with that, I'm going to piggyback on Betsy and say, and Gwen, the census is very important. We still need to do better because we can get so many wonderful services for health, for education, if people all just get counted. And finally, this board has been awarded the Master Board designation by the Florida School Boards Association, and it's because of our work together in taking specialized training and trying to work to become a cohesive team that definitely puts the needs of our kids in our community at the forefront. So I thank those parents, and I feel their pain, and I just really want to appreciate all of the people who work in this district who have really made an incredible difference as we navigate through this global pandemic. Thank you.
Ms. Fisher, can I?
Yes.
I forgot to mention something. We are working with, I spoke with the superintendent about working with Shield for Kids out in the East Zone that do the benches for our students to come back. And so they are going to work with the Transportation Department and Roger Lloyd. They are connecting so that we won't have all the kids coming back, so they're going to coordinate the stops together, and so they have to go through and refurbish and paint and fix them all up. So I'm very happy for that partnership. And the last thing I want to say too is that we thank the Sheriff's Department and our two guards here tonight from the Sheriff's Department. Thank you so much. I know you thought you were just coming to, watch us drone on and on, so you got a little excitement, but thank you so much for being here and for what you guys do.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Attorney Dupree Brunel.
Madam Chair, I think there may have been a little confusion, so if I may just clear that up a little bit. Looking at the Florida statute K through 20, chapters 1000 through 1013, specifically Florida statute.
Bruno, I can't.
Specifically, Florida Statute 1001.42, which discusses the powers and duties of the district school board, subsection 8 states, in accordance with the provisions of chapters 1003 and 1006, provide for the proper accounting for all students of school age, for the attendance and control of students at school, and for the proper attention to health, safety, and other matters relating to the welfare of students. So I just wanted to clarify that. In addition, I have an announcement. On Friday, the attorneys attended the Florida School Board Attorneys Association Conference. And at that conference, our very own Ryan Hudak was a presenter on Title IX. In addition, Mr. Hudak, as you know, serves as our Equity and Civil Rights Coordinator. In addition, Mr. Hudak was nominated and voted in to be an affiliate member of FSBAA. So congratulations to Mr. Ryan Hudak.
Yes. Is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Atkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me first of all, I have a couple introductions. They've been very patient, administrative appointments. First of all, I'd like to recognize Kristen Sinclair, exceptional student education from Education Staffing Specialist to Coordinator, ESC.
Now we can clap.
And the next one is Ellie Ochoa. Department ESOL teacher to Colonial Elementary assistant principal. Congratulations. All right, and the next thing, just a couple follow-up items. We did have a comment about seat belts. Seat belts on school buses are a requirement. There's, compliance, because the drivers don't buckle the safety belt, so you do have some compliance issues sometimes at the secondary level. The one thing, though, that I think it's important to keep in mind that's unlike cars, a school bus is the most safe mode of transportation. It does a compartmentalization, you know, that's why the seats are high. So it's a very, very safe mode of transportation, and that we always have to keep that in mind. But that's the seat belts in the state of Florida on buses are a requirement. The next thing is I just sincerely appreciate the acknowledgments on the part of the board. I want to acknowledge this board, however. You know, one of the things that during this pandemic, everybody's rolled up their sleeves and has done a role here one way or the other, whether it's doing research, sending us suggestions, whether it's, you know, a mass drive, whether it's serving on the pandemic task force, whether it's working with the local community leaders to help us with this effort. So I just want to appreciate that. And also it is certainly, I appreciate the recognition because that means a lot to the people that are doing the work, and so taking the time to do that is truly, as we can see, a team effort, and you're definitely a huge part of the team, and I just want to say thank you for that. I know we're all excited about August 31st and the start of schools. We cannot wait to see our students come back into our schools. I know for one, you know, I can't wait for that day. And we have a lot of teachers, administrators, support staff across the district that feel the same way. So teachers, I just want to thank you for the flexibility and agility. I know that this has been a different time where you don't have the class rosters like you normally do, but you have been absolutely wonderful. APCs, thank you for the work that you're doing. And I just want to assure our parents out there that this team has worked very, very hard. A lot of us have either kids in the district, or we have family members that are teachers or educators that are working in the district. So for all those reasons and many, many others, we really care about what happens and making sure our kids are safe when they come back and our staff are safe. So please be assured. I'm sure it will not be smooth sailing every moment, but I've been very, very impressed with how quickly people adapt and make changes and work in the best interest of students. So thank you, and can't wait for Monday.
Thank you very much, Dr. Atkins. On Friday, September 4th, there'll be a board workshop at 1 p.m. On Tuesday, September 8th, there'll be a briefing meeting at 1 p.m., a special meeting at 5:05 p.m., and an action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no other business to come before this body and seeing no objections, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Home safe, everyone, and stay safe and well.